So here we are in level 2 of Alchemy 201. And in this level, we're going to talk about the miraculous. Now, I want to define the miraculous as something different from a miracle. Because, to have somebody blind and see, or, that kind of miracle, that's not exactly what I'm talking about, although I do believe those things are definitely possible. And I know many people who could probably do something like that, but I'm talking about the miraculous. And the miraculous for me is a force from the universe, which holds incredible power of possibility and newness and regenerative, exciting outcomes attached to it. So when I'm talking about the miraculous, that's what I'm talking about. And that can produce extraordinary outcomes way beyond what you'd expect, and hence why I call it the miraculous. Now, let me just say that I've talked to many of my friends who have experienced miracles and the miraculous. I have one friend who had 5 life-threatening diseases. Doctor said, there's nothing we can do. You'll probably be dead in 6 months. And she went, oh no. And she went on a 6-month journey and literally is healthy as a horse, as near as I know. And this is years on from that. And when I asked her how she did that, she did it through consciousness work with herself, with her body, and with death in the universe. So she did some extraordinary things. I have a video somewhere. If I can find it, I interviewed her, and I'll put the link in below this so that you can have a check of that if you'd like. I have another friend who does it through genetics and DNA. She has a PhD in genetics, and she does it through source working with the genetics and the DNA. So she could take a baby in the womb who was, the doctor said, would be born with Down syndrome. That was after 12 weeks. And after the baby was born, it was born normal because she was working with the source miraculousness of the DNA for that child's fullest potential. And it turned out. Now that's just, and again, one example. I think I have an interview of her as well, that if I can find it, I'll put the link below. So for me, the miraculous, I don't tend to focus my miraculous work so much on physical, what people call healing. Oh, and let me distinguish between healing and the miraculous for me, because in order to, I'm speaking generically here, but generally when you think of healing something, you think of fixing something that's not okay and putting it back to rights, putting it back to the way it was, back to health, which is great. But the miraculous isn't that, because the miraculous doesn't start from something's wrong that needs to be fixed or healed. The miraculous starts from perfection, magnificence. Oh my God, what's possible now? And the miraculous then goes to work on fueling the potency of the moment, of the possibility of what is becoming. And then it pops into play a whole new version of reality or physicality or the person, etc., etc. So the miraculous as a force works very different from healing. Now, let me just tell you a story, because years ago I was coaching someone who was a healer who was following a pretty decent modality in healing. But in that modality, she was being told that you couldn't become the source, that was just a no-no. And so I said to her, okay, and she was struggling, by the way, with the modality, but she was certain this teacher must be right. And I said to her, have you ever, when you're working with someone, had it be miraculous? And she said, yes. And I said, and when you did that, if you think back, were you following the step-by-step guidance, of this modality? She thought about it for a minute and she said, no, I wasn't. I said, what were you doing? She said, I don't know. I just did something. I said, that's the miraculous. Because the miraculous is unleashed from techniques, tips, guidance, somebody else's version of what should happen. It's an in the moment pulse of power that bursts something brand new and exciting into reality. And it's the surrender or the becoming of that, whether that's source, whether that's universe, whether that's all of consciousness, whether that's the quantum field, whether that's the miraculous itself as a force sailing through the universes, waiting for us to pick it up and bring life to life. And that for me is the miraculous. So when I'm doing it for myself, like let's say I need something in my own physicality, like, well, this is just a minor version. So a couple of years ago, I could feel, when you swallow and you can feel, uh-oh, here comes a cold, right? Or flu. It was in the winter. I think it was December. It was December 2019, right before COVID. It could have even been that I caught COVID that early, but I don't know what it was, but I swallowed. And so I got home and I just went, took the whole thing to a whole other frequency, made friends with it, looked at what it was for, celebrated its potent potential for me, possibility to move into something new, and moved into something new. It never manifested. From that moment of just, there it is, it never manifested. And so vibrationally, I took myself to a level where I don't think disease exists. Now, let me say that again, because that's a fairly big thing. And is it the truth? I don't know, but it works for me. So you kind of have to go to find your own way with that, test it out, see what works for you. So I'll say it again. I took myself vibrationally to a space where disease doesn't exist. And I think that's pretty important to understand, because when you're at this vibration, things can bang you around. And then, of course, you go, oh, no, I'm getting a cold, or oh, no, I've got a problem, or oh, no, I've got this, that, or the other. I shouldn't have this. What's wrong with me? And then you go down the hole. But instead, if you go, oh, potential, pointing its hand towards me, possibility showing up, let's go. And sometimes those things are there so you can take a rest. So take a rest. You don't need to get sick to take it. Sometimes it's there to point you in a new direction with your work or your purpose in the world. So change direction. You don't have to get sick to do it. See what I mean? But now partner the high vibrational reality where disease doesn't exist with a quantum burst of the miraculous as a power, as a force, and you get what looks like miraculous outcomes. So one of the things that I do, if I don't often work with physicality with people, it's not something it's not my leaning or purpose, you could say. But if it's a friend, if they really need it, or if I'm coaching somebody that really needs something, I will do everything I can to help. So what I do when I'm working with someone else like that, so the first thing I do is tune in is, what is this for? What's it pointing them towards? What's the possibility here? What's the newness? I ask all those questions. I get the insight first. Then I place them as an energetic being in the quantum field. Like they are surrounded by possibility and miraculousness flowing all over the place. And then I do what I call a zing. Now, some of you have heard me talk about that before. Some of you may not have heard me talk about that before. A zing for me is a quantum burst of exhilarating newness and possibility. And when you do it as a field to the quantum field, to them in the quantum field, with them as a focus, their vibration goes up, their energy rises, their possibilities emerge, grace comes all over it. It's not like I have to intend all those things. It's just what happens. when I do that. So when I'm working with the miraculous, it's a little bit more than a zing. So it's not just a quantum burst of high vibrational, good wishing, health, vitality, that kind of thing. When I'm doing the miraculous, it comes more like a rush of power through me. It comes to them and it does its work. I am not just its conduit, because I have to become that force, that power moving through the world. But at the same point, I have to not think, not try to know, not try to understand, not try to direct it. That's why I work in hyperspeed like that. And so what I mean is it goes and then I let it be. Because if I stay in there too long, I tend to undo it. Now that's me. When you're doing the miraculous, there are a gazillion ways to do the miraculous. And perhaps every one of us has a different way of doing this. And that is so amazing. Absolutely amazing. So we're just going to try and experience for a moment. Okay. So I want you to just take a deep breath, open that wild, deep, beautiful core of you. The source is pouring through you. You are surrendered into the universe, the force, the God, source, creator, earth, nature, anything you want. You become it. Then take something you want as a focus. Now, we could take the earth, for example. If we took the whole earth as a focus, and what I want you to do is not think, oh my God, the earth needs healing, because the earth is an extraordinarily powerful, miraculous being. So I want you to meet it miraculous to miraculous. Okay, we are the miraculous meeting the miraculous as earth. And here we go. And then do your miraculous work, whatever it is. Let it just burst through you, pour through you. Whatever it is, you might sing it, you might dance it, you might breathe it, you might pulse it, you might go out into the universe and celebrate anything. And just let yourself go do where the miraculous guides you. So here we go, earth as focus, okay? I can't help but have a smile on my face every time I do these things. It's just so amazing, so extraordinary. The feeling of it, just so exhilarating. It's so joyful, it's so powerful and beautiful at the same time. It's just amazing, actually, to do these things. Now, the Miraculous Maestros group and I, we've been doing for quite some time now, work with exhilarating the miraculousness of the earth. And if you notice this year, it's like, woo, here in the UK and other places, people tell me, Australia, places in the US, Florida, etc. The flowers, the green, the joy of nature, it's just bountiful and bursting. And some people say, well, yes, we had 2 years where we were a lot in global lockdown and that helped. But I think it's much more than that as well. I think there's an exhilaration of the miraculous coming through nature to provide unprecedented solutions and outcomes for us. So, so exciting. So there you go. That's what I would call the miraculous, and that's our beginning of playing with it for now. Okay, that's it for now until the next one on the miraculous, where we take it a little bit further.